All right, what's up guys? So today I'm changing the rear differential fluid in my 2017 M3. If you saw the previous video on the manual transmission fluid change, this was the last maintenance item that I wanted to get done before we head out for Bimmer Invasion tomorrow. And I'd ordered the kit to do this a while ago, but on Saturday when I went to go and actually do the fluid change, I realized I had the wrong stuff. So the kit that I bought from FCP Euro, which included the fluid and the replacement fill and drain plugs, actually the fluid that came with that was the stuff that included the friction modifier. Which there's been some debate on whether or not it matters if you use friction modifier rear differential fluid in an F80X car or later, but a while ago BMW put out a service bulletin specifically saying not to use the friction modifier. It was something that was needed for earlier generation M cars, but for F8X and later, you don't need it. There's also debate on whether or not it matters if you use OEM fluid or not, and I would just share that based on some of the stuff that I read with that, the rear differential can have a tendency to make like a whining sound, and I've read that using a non-OEM fluid can exacerbate that sound versus the OEM stuff, which tends to be a little bit quieter. So if you are changing the rear differential fluid in your F8X or later M car, you want to use the BMW OEM fluid without the friction modifier. And of course, as always, I'll link everything in the description below. Now, in terms of intervals for doing this is actually one of the break-in item service items that they do at the 1200 mile point. And then I've read varying things on when you're supposed to do it next. I think 50,000 is really the next service point, although I read some people doing it a little bit earlier at about 40,000, but I think if you're within that range, you know, give or take, it probably doesn't matter. Now, in terms of the actual operation of changing the fluid, it's pretty much exactly the same as doing the manual transmission fluid without the added hassle of having to uninstall and reinstall the panel that covers the transmission. In my opinion, that was the most annoying part. Doing the actual oil change was easy, but that panel was sort of a hassle. But for this, you have direct access to the rear differential, so all we have to do, again, exactly the same with the transmission fluid, we'll just loosen the fill plug to make sure that it's not seized. Then we'll drain all the fluid, reinstall and torque down the drain plug, pump in the new fluid, and then reinstall and torque down the fill plug, and that should be it. So again, everything that we're gonna use, I will link in the description below, but now let me show you the parts. Okay, so this is everything that we're going to use. Again, real quick on the fluid. So this was the stuff that I got from FCP Euro as part of the rear differential fluid change kit. Notice this is the SAF XJ FM booster. This is not the stuff that you wanna use. So this is the correct version, just the SAF XJ. And I did get 2 bottles of this just because even though the rear differential holds 1 liter of fluid, maybe not all of it gets up, you know, through the fluid pump, so I'm using 2 bottles just in case. These are the replacement fluid and drain plugs. Now these we actually are going to replace, again, unlike the manual transmission where you can potentially reuse those. This does have an O-ring that can wear out, so we're gonna replace these. Have the fluid pump, same one that we used for the transmission fluid, and for the fill and drain plug, there's a 14 mil hex socket that you need, and then a torque wrench. I'm also gonna use gloves this time because, you know, why not? And then finally, of course, the catch pan for catching the oil. So right here is the drain plug. This is the fill plug. So I'm gonna go ahead and loosen the fill plug just to make sure that's not seized, and then we'll drain the fluid. And just a heads up, this one is a little tough to loosen, so you really have to kind of lean into it. And actually using a small extension here will make getting to the fill plug a little bit easier. All right, and just like with the engine and transmission oil drain plugs, you want to apply upward force as you're loosening this. And then once it seems like it's completely free, then quickly pull away and let everything drain. Okay, so similar to the O-rings for the oil filter housing, I'm actually going to use a little bit of the spent oil just to coat the O-ring of the new drain plug. P.S. this stuff smells terrible. So we'll clean this up a little bit and then reinstall the drain plug. We're gonna hand tighten just to make sure we don't cross thread, and then we will torque this down to 60 Newton meters. And actually 60 Newton meters is the same specs for both the fill and the drain plugs. Now to fill up. Okay, so before I pump in the new rear differential fluid, I'm gonna do something that I learned from Help Me DIY. This is a great F8X DIY channel. So I'm actually gonna pump some of the spent rear differential fluid through my fluid pump. So I'd previously used this for the manual transmission fluid, and I don't wanna cross-contaminate. So I'm just gonna, I have the catch pan right here. I'm just gonna pump some of the spent rear differential fluid through, try to cleanse that out a little bit before we pump in the new fluid. All right, so I got a couple of pumps through here of the old fluid. So with that, let's go ahead and get this into the new rear differential fluid bottles. Pump into the fill hole here, and then once it starts leaking back out, we know we're done. Should be about 1 liter, give or take. Okay, so I can see that we're dripping out a little bit here, but I'm gonna go ahead and switch the other bottle just to pump enough in, make sure I get a steady stream. Let us know that we're totally full. So I'll wait for this to taper off and then reinstall the fill plug. All right, same thing, hand tighten this and then torque this down to 60 Newton meters. All right, we are done. Now I just gotta clean up my mess here. All right guys, well, another maintenance item down. So like I said, this was just as easy to do as the manual transmission without the hassle of that panel. Very simple maintenance item, and again, you know, there's a lot of great F80, F82 maintenance videos out there, but I try to frame these in a way that just shows how easy some of these items to do. Granted, they're not all easy. I'm not looking forward to the spark plugs, although that'll be a fun first timer kind of thing, but in terms of quick and easy maintenance, a lot of these items are very quick and easy. So if you've got some basic tools, the jacks, some jack stands, you can absolutely do these in your driveway or garage and save the time and money from the dealership. So I hope you found this helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. In the meantime, can't wait to get some footage from Bimmer Invasion and put that up. But until then, I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.